Hi there, my name is JhN, and after suffering a tremendously difficult personal loss, I quit life as I knew it and began traveling the world, delighting in new and thrilling cultures and helping along the way where I could. Through endless hours of meditation, poring over hundreds of books, and delving into the depths of my own mind, I finally discovered what I've been looking for: peace, purpose, and joy. I'm here to share what I've learned so that you too can discover all that I've come to know. So let's get to it and have a bit of fun along the way. Mindfulness 101 continued. Our previous homework assignment was observing yourself as you ate a meal. Were you able to turn off that expressive mind for just a second or two even? Were you able to realize and enjoy that peace and quietude that came in without having any thought whatsoever? Did the mind just come right back in though and start chattering away and talking about this, that, and the other and having opinions all over the board? It's tough to turn off that expressive mind, isn't it? We wish we could just hit a little power button and just silence that, but that's what we're establishing. And you see how the expressive mind even talks about other stuff, all this different stuff beyond the flavor of the meal. It's not even attending to what we're doing then and there. It may be thinking about, getting embarrassed in grade school, or the project that you've got looming, or trying to figure out your life's purpose. It may have these big grandiose thoughts, or it may just be super picky on that exact moment, or judgmental, or just the useless meandering thoughts that don't really provide any benefit to your life whatsoever. And did you see that when you thought about enjoying the dish, it didn't make you enjoy the dish anymore? You already knew that you were enjoying the dish before the mind had to narrate about your enjoyment. So in fact, you could just turn off the expressive mind while you're enjoying an experience, and then you're enjoying the quietude, the peace of that moment. And it's almost like your senses are going to get heightened because they're not all distracted with that crazy, just meaningless thought. They're actually really focused in, and they're laser concentrated on what you're experiencing, on the sense that is coming into you and the experience associated with it. Your second homework assignment was to try to observe that expressive mind when you're navigating a upsetting situation or experience. How'd that go? Were you able to catch it immediately? Soon as it happened, did you go right to your mind, or did it happen a little bit later when you're like, oh yeah, man, I was totally supposed to monitor my expressive mind, but I couldn't catch it right away because you were wrapped up in that negative emotion? And when you did finally catch yourself and go, oh yeah, I was supposed to observe my expressive mind, did things become a little bit clearer without you coming back and trying to replay everything that happened? When you were experiencing that upsetting situation or event, it's almost like your senses blanketed your surrounding environment and atmosphere because you were so much caught up into not only the negative emotion of being upset, but the mind's reaction to that, because it would go on and on and on and on after that event. How long did that continue for you after the upsetting event? Was it basically an equal amount of time? Like, say if that upsetting event lasted 10 seconds, somebody cut you off in traffic, did the expressive mind think about that upsetting event for only 10 seconds? Or did it continue on and on and on and on and just not give up? And you felt the bubbling up of that negative emotion just kind of grow, just that stone kicked over the hill's edge and just gaining momentum and just getting bigger and larger and more forceful. And how did you physically feel after that situation? Even when you told yourself, oh yeah, I was supposed to observe my expressive mind, did your mind come right back and start talking shit again about that situation? Did it pull you back into that toxicity? Was it incessant, carrying you back into the situation and not just letting it go? Even if you tried to observe it, it probably drummed it up again, and then you tried to observe again, and then it drummed up again. It's just like somebody who's just repeating their point over and over and over and over again. It's like, dude, we get it. Will you just chill out and get away from that? Drop it. And you see how that obsession with that upsetting event really does veil us from our surroundings. If somebody pisses us off, we're not going to go to a museum and enjoy all the artistic creations that are there because we're in our mind so much. When that event happens, we become emotionally upset. But can it just end there where we're like, oh, okay, I'm upset, back to reality? No, our mind keeps us entangled in this webbing, this net of emotion, and it won't let go. And it literally veils us from that environment, from our surroundings. We can't use our senses to hear, smell, taste, and listen to what we're seeing, and it wouldn't stop. And you just want to hit the stop button, the pause button, and just turn it off and come to presence, come to awareness, and enjoy the silence of that expressive mind being turned off, especially after experiencing something upsetting, so that you could just let it go. And I know I spoke about how long it occurred after the fact. Again, if we're getting cut off in traffic, that expressive mind may drum that up for a few moments after. But if somebody at work called us lazy, then it might take days or even months, and it's always going to bring ourselves back to that event and drum it up. I have instances where my expressive mind will try to drum up humiliation from when I was 7 years old, and I literally have to evict it out of my mind. It's easy now that I've trained my mind to do so, but why does it do that? Why does it drum up past experiences of discontent when you're washing the dishes or you find yourself doing something completely unrelated to that event, and out of nowhere we're thinking about that disrespect or that humiliation? So now you're getting a grasp on something very important, very profound here, that things in life will occur, and we can deem them as problems and also get upset by them, but it's more so our expressive minds gnawing at our discontent. It's illuminating it, it's highlighting it, it's fueling that discontent repeatedly and for extended periods of time. And by doing that, it's blinding us to the real world. It's stealing away our senses. We can't see, we can't hear, we can't taste, we can't feel. We just are basically turned off from the world, and we come inside and we're just battling and wrestling all of those thoughts, all that toxicity, all that negative emotion that is physically altering us and making us very uncomfortable and emotionally upset. So we're able to see here that maybe it's not just the events that occur, but how our expressive mind reacts to those events, how that expressive mind perceives those events, and then determines if we should be upset about them or if we shouldn't. So in essence here, our expressive minds are determining our peace and joy and our level of discontent. Something as mild as getting cut off in traffic should be done right then and there. But for some reason, it needlessly goes on and on and on about it. And it drags us through that negative emotion until we're home and even beyond that. And we're just all riled up and stressed out and angry from that little minor event. And I'm speaking about things that have upset you. And usually those things are going to be in your current reality. So when you sense yourself getting angry or frustrated or impatient, that's something that's happening, like when you go to the grocery store and there's a long line. You're upset about that, or somebody cuts you off in traffic, or the mail's not delivered on that day. That's something that happens then and there, and your expressive mind is going on and on and on about it. But what happens when it's not something that's happening in your current reality? We're talking about a future event. You've got a big project due, or a big final exam, or there's a job interview down the line, something in the future that's not happening then and there. But yet, our expressive mind wants to drum up anxiety and stress and worry and panic. We haven't even touched on that right now. We're only focusing on what's happening in your immediate reality. And we also haven't touched upon past realities where we are experiencing an emotional negative reaction such as depression, sadness, resentment, guilt or regret, where that negative emotion, that thought comes to us and we think about that situation or that event or that person, and we just get pulled down into this abyss of darkness. Haven't touched upon that right now either. So we're seeing how the expressive mind kind of determines our state of being. So let's train it. So you've already taken those first few steps by 1, observing the expressive mind. Just stepping back and observing the thought that comes through your mind. Second step was we're quantifying it and qualifying that thought as helpful or unhelpful. And then we've tried to turn off the mind while we're experiencing something pleasant, such as a nice meal. And we've also observed the mind when we're experiencing something unpleasant, so we see how its behavior affects us emotionally and steals our senses away from our immediate environment. So how are we going to retrain our mind to allow helpful thoughts and not allow unhelpful thoughts? I call it centering. In the next video, we're going to talk about centering and why it's so beneficial, and that's going to be a technique that you can implement in your day-to-day, and it's the first major technique for coming into awareness and presence and centering your mind and being mindful of the current reality. So that's coming up in the next video, centering our mind. So stay tuned. As always, thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you have not already. Hit that notifications button so you know when I'm launching a new video, and please comment below. Ask me some questions so I can get back to you if you have some more detailed concerns or questions about what's going on with you. And of course, give me that thumbs up if you think I've deserved it. And I always humbly and respectfully request for you to share these videos with a loved one or friend or coworker or anybody you think may benefit from watching them. And as always, thank you so very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed the show.